Hello and welcome to another episode of Literary Gladiators, the show where we discuss debate literature in all of its forms. If it's written work, it's game. Let's meet the panel.
Hi, I'm Larry.
Hi, I'm Jesi.
Hi, I'm Sara.
And I'm Josh, and today we are going to be going over an autobiography that was written by and about the life of Chris Kyle, and that is American Sniper. And Jesi, you have a discussion starter?
I do. So, obviously, this autobiography was written after Chris Kyle's youth and his time in war, obviously. And I feel like he kind of keeps the same attitude throughout the whole biography. However, I kind of wanted to ask, how do you guys feel that Chris Kyle's mental state actually changed throughout his life? Like how he went from, just being a small town Texas boy to a cowboy to a Navy SEAL, going to war, all of that, how it actually affected him. I feel like he doesn't really cover his mental state a lot in the book.
Because it's his perspective.
Yes, exactly.
He's going to say things the way that he sees them.
Right.
But first of all, I think that he had a very different perspective from the stories about war that I've read. He comes to that conclusion, but granted, I read the things they carried by Tim O'Brien and a few other accounts, but a lot of them feel that when all is said and done, war is a great tragedy, and it has to do with nobody wins in war. Innocent men that are fighting for their country die. Chris Kyle's not like that. He, in a way, he feels bad about his fellow. He feels terrible about his fellow brethren that had been killed, but he felt no sense of remorse for the aggressors on the other side, because to him, they were looking to do nothing more than kill Americans, kill him and his brethrens. Even the first kill that he had on the one woman, he knew that she was looking to use that grenade to hurt Americans. And the way that he puts things, too, the fact that...
It's very short and to the point.
Yeah.
That's a sentence, and that's the period.
He saw nothing more than that, just good guy, bad guy, and nothing else. So that's probably why he was so good at what he was doing. He didn't think any more of it. He did his duty.
I would say that much.
I mean, I haven't read a lot of war stories. In my head, is really the first one that I can think of for at least modern war. I didn't realize it was an autobiography. I was one of the people, who heard about the movie, saw the movie first, and then when I saw that it was an autobiography, I was like, oh, I need to read that. So, I don't really have anything to relate to this book, but it makes me kind of think, just kind of based on other war movies that I've seen and stories that I have heard from friends who were in the military, it seems like SEALs have a very different mindset than the average soldier.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it maybe that's what gave him his whole black and white kind of, like you said before, the black and white kind of aspect or thought on it, that, I'm a SEAL. It is my job to protect these Americans. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to do that job. And it's not right for me not to be there. And I feel like he said that a lot, where anytime he was home, he didn't feel like he should be home.
Yeah,
he has a war to fight. He needed to go out there, and he needed to, fight for his country. And I can't really so much blame him. I mean, if you're, sitting here right now, somebody comes in with the intention of hurting us, and we have the ability to stop that, can you really say that you wouldn't?
He's been conditioned and trained so long
exactly,
to do that. He feels like he's
protect himself
place.
And protect, yeah. And I know at the closer to the end of the book, when he was being seen by the doctors, that I thought it was very interesting too, how his SEAL training had conditioned him so much that when his training kicked in, he was calm. It was
Yeah.
afterwards that his blood pressure went up
Right.
and everything was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Whereas it's like in that moment, everything was calm.
Right.
And everything was like, do my duty, and my duty's done, then I can worry about it. Which is, I personally think that's like, wow.
And that makes life harder and harder once you get back.
Yeah,
can't
once you
go
get back, which I'm grateful that he like talked about it, and I don't know if you guys, the version you read, because apparently there's a version without Taya's input.
I read the version
with Tay.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, good.
yeah.
So I kind of liked Taya's input as well,
Yeah.
kind of like seeing the other side.
It's interesting because she has a different perspective. It gives you a somewhat of a different lens, but at the same time, an understanding lens of Chris Kyle as a person, but she still has that sense of detachment because she's never fought in the military.
Right.
So you have that into, but then you have the movie that really blows it. It creates some sense of, it adds elements to it so that there's drama.
Of course.
So, because there's a lot of things that were really, like to make it much more, make their marriage much more intense, and to make things, granted it already was intense, but certain details to it, and different encounters, and then different people, just so they can give them a sense of character in Peace, when in actuality they really weren't a huge part of his experience.
I remember the one part when he had talked about how he didn't get to call home a lot, so he would often, call home from the perch. And when he was under attack, and he thought he hung up and he didn't,
yeah.
and she had to hear all of that. I could not imagine hearing that over the phone, thinking my husband, the father of my children,
Hearing
like
die.
and I feel like that was in a way kind of one of the things in the movie that they did dramatize rather well, just because unless that happens to you, you can't really know how horrifying that is. Like, you could be listening to him dying, and you don't know, and how can you hang up on that? You can't hang up on that. That might be the last time you ever hear from him. And then him not realizing that the phone didn't get hung up on, and he didn't call her until 2 days later, and she's like losing her mind. Like, when is this man gonna come to my door and tell me my husband's dead? And like, instead she gets a call from him. So like, I really feel for Taya. I mean, it seems like it's like, I mean, I imagine that it'd be difficult to be married to, not difficult, but difficult to be married to a soldier or anybody in the military, because they're gone for so long and missing them, and that strain on the relationship from being gone and having to do everything.
And there's always that sense that they can be redeployed.
Yes.
At any time, to a certain degree. But this was written a year before Chris Kyle was murdered, too.
And I feel like that actually had a lot to do with, just from knowing some research behind it. We were talking before, he talks about Marcus Luttrell, who was the lone survivor, and he was still alive, or is still alive around for the movie. So he was on set and made sure everything was perfect. And from what I understand, Chris Kyle had planned to do the same thing, talking with Bradley Cooper and being to make everything perfect and less dramatized. But he died before they started filming, I believe.
He died in February of 2013. It was he was helping out a schizophrenic person who was he was taking him to the shooting range, and he saw guns in the car and shot him and the guy that was accompanying him.
I believe they had his trial not too long ago. He was sentenced to jail for
Life in
murder.
prison.
Yeah.
They were able to make it so that he wouldn't receive the death penalty, because this is Texas.
Yeah.
But because he was because of his insanity. But,
which I think is fair.
But
I mean,
yeah, he'll be locked down for the rest of his life, and I think that is when you murder somebody, you can't be out in the general public.
it kind of makes me like, and reading through the book too, knowing like now that's like after his death, and like knowing, I feel like it was very like spooky the way he kind of said some things, knowing how he died. And for the life of me, I couldn't tell you the exact line. There was one line closer to the end of the book where he was like really like he had the drinking problem, like, you know, man, I shouldn't be home. I should be over there fighting. Like, I expect to die there. And it's like, and yet you came home, you helped suffering soldiers, and that's how you. And I don't know. It's like he was still helping his fellow Americans, but I don't know. I found it to be very like.
And he was back home for 3.5, 4 years too, because he left in 2009. So, and then they have that picture of him and his son visiting the C-17.
That's in the book too.
Yep.
So. I don't know. I kind of admire him in a sort of way. He's what
I think this is as straightforward as you can get as far as.
I mean,
something.
He's what I picture like your typical American kind of.
Badass.
Yeah. yeah, that's the perfect word for it, actually. Like, he's humble, but he does what he needs to do. And, I mean, Taya even recounts numerous times, like, living in San Diego, I think it was, or in California, when, you know, Marines came up to him and said, dude, you were in Fallujah. You saved my life. And he's like, no. Like, you would have done the same. You saved my life.
Yeah.
And it's just like... No, he didn't. Like, you took over Marine platoons and you took them through buildings and you saved them from being blown up. Like, and that's, and it's so hard to hear him kind of talk about how disappointed in America he was. I mean, I know it was nothing like, you know, the Vietnam War when soldiers came home and were basically spit on, but I mean, he came home saying, wow, I just survived all this BS to keep your rights free, and you're downing it, and
they're going after the fighters and not the people that the Congress people that are really making the choices.
Which I think he even says that too.
Yeah,
it's like, if you're angry,
that.
Be angry at the right people, not me, because they're trying, like,
they're
overseas, they're trying to kill me. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it makes no sense to look at the soldiers for wars that you don't agree with. You know, it's not their fault. They sign up to defend the country, and if the politicians of the country abuse them, that's not their fault.
Yeah, it's just easy to throw the blame on someone.
And the training is just really, the way that he describes the training, and the hazing too, the one where where they threw paint on him and drew Playboy bunnies before his wedding day. Alright, so I'm not one of those people who agree with hazing. I went to college, I heard about all the hazing stories, and all, like, some things weren't really bad, but then other things were, like, really bad, so I'm not a hazing kind of person. But, like, when he was talking about that, I was just like, oh, that's your typical male. Like, that's just men, like, being, I don't know why, it's just, to me, that it's, I understood that. Like, if they had to go through, they have to go die for each other and protect each other. Like, they could put up with this.
I'm not for hazing whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm not either, but I get it.
I guess it was sort of like they're like socially accepting ritual where if they weren't able to get through this hazing, then they're gonna have
They're not getting through war.
Yeah, and I guess being able to forgive the other soldiers for hazing them, you had to work with them, so I guess some sort of team building.
I mean, there's other ways to do team building, but I mean, apparently that I liked. I actually found the mock trial that they had to be rather humorous. When they were like when he was on trial for like silly things, and every time he lost or was found guilty of the charges, he had to like take a shot or something, and then they carried him around the town or whatever. I thought that was pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie.
They had him strapped to a board.
Yeah, and they're telling passerby there's nothing to see here, and it's like, could you imagine being one of those people who like accidentally stumbles upon seals hazing each other? Like, you know what? You do, you guys.
Do we have anything else anybody wanted to say?
I like this guy.
Me too.
Yeah, I thought he was a very well written piece. I think he did a good job interjecting himself and holding back no punches.
Holding no punches, completely unapologetic.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I am, and this is what I do.
And he was very, he incorporated the specific details about the different weaponry as well.
Oh, I
the
thought,
guns,
yeah.
the bullets.
Yeah.
I like the slang term. There was a term for one of the things that he, cheese that he would put in the, that he would shoot.
I like that.
I actually, and because I was discussing this before I was supposed to, I'm sorry. I was saying too, I thought it was very interesting how humble he is. He was conditioned to be a machine, and that's what he was. And when he took a step back and said, on paper, I'm the most lethal sniper, yes, but that's only because I had opportunity. It has nothing to do with how good I am. Mm-hmm. And like, and he says that, you know, first thing, like I want to say probably almost on the first page or in the author note or something. It's like, that's the first thing he says. He says, there were plenty of other guys out there better than me who could have done it better than me. I only had opportunity.
He was at the right place.
Right place at the right time. And I feel like that just kind of shows his kind of character too. Like what kind of, you know, not just what kind of SEAL or soldier that he is, but what kind of man that he is too. I mean, overall, I really enjoyed reading this, like a lot. And I know, I believe actually, is it Goodreads or Google? Somebody had, like, one of them has actually a lot of like single stars for it, which I found rather surprising. And the reviews said a lot how they didn't like how black and white he saw everything. And I wanted to comment and I wanted to see it, but it's how he has to see it.
Yeah, it's a quality that benefited him in when he needed to be. If it was, if he was in like, if he wasn't a soldier or just in everyday life, that might not be a beneficial quality. But in this, where he happened to be, that
he has to be, because I mean, when it comes to war, regardless of your thoughts and your feelings, it basically comes down to, are you going to kill me or am I going to kill you? And you don't have time to sit there and contemplate, oh, well, does this person have a family? I need to think about this person's feelings. No, this person has a grenade. This person wants to kill me. And it's like, and you almost have to understand that war, as a single person in that war situation, it is black and white. When you get out, then it's that gray area. But in that moment,
you can't turn a.
You can't sit there.
I'm not a big fan of the idea of gray area in general.
Yeah, I feel it's the thin gray line, or however you would say it. It's like things are blurred, and there's always perspectives. And I mean,
a right one and a lot of wrong ones.
Yeah, I mean, I loved, like you said, he was straight to the point. He this is who I am and this is what I have to do. And he saved tons of people, tons of Americans because of it. And I think, you know, Bradley Cooper and, you know, the whole film crew, when they brought this to life, I think they did a really nice job, you know, commemorating him and bringing more honor to him than he would have gotten for people who wouldn't have read the book. That's the way I see it.
Already done. How would we rate this on a 0 to 5 scale with half the stars permitted? Larry?
I'm going to give it 4 stars just because I hardly ever give 5, and because I think, you know, it's really honest, you know, and that's like the most important thing that I look for when I'm reading is something honest like that. So I go 4, maybe 4.5. I'll go 4.5.
I think I actually gave this a full 5 stars on Goodreads. I really enjoyed it. Like you said, it It was very honest. I know with autobiographies, I know not everything they put in there is necessarily true. It's, again, all about perspective. And, you know, he even says that he left out some details because it's classified and whatnot. But I mean, if anybody is going to come across as honest, it's going to be that SEAL that's from Texas. So he's going to, and I feel like he tells you, while, you know, he may not have put everything, you know, into his autobiography, I still, like you said, it comes across, it's very honest. It's very straightforward. It's, you know, when he's telling you the truth, you can tell because he says it. This is the truth, that's that, end of story, moving on. It's straight to the point. And I mean this in the most respectful way in the world. In a way, it's almost kind of, this is going to come across as so demeaning, and I don't mean it, but childish in the sort of way of how there's this, then there's this, and that's how it is. And like I said, I don't mean it to come across like demeaning. I mean it in the most respectful way as possible, but it's a very easy to understand book. It's very straight to the point. He doesn't use any excessive big words or anything like that. It's, here it is. That's my life. This is what I went through. That's the end.
I will give it 3.5. I liked it more than I thought I would. I'm just not a huge fan of like war books. When he was talking about the guns, like it got like all the specific details and like parts of the gun. That's where like, all right, like I didn't understand as well because I don't know the parts now, but I did enjoy it more than I thought.
Okay, I gave it a 4.5 as well. I think that this was really honest, straightforward, very accessible. I think that the way that you can read this, you can get through it very swiftly, but at the same time, you're getting so much out of it. And I think that Chris Kyle tells you everything that you need and you need to know, whether it's something that you want to know or it's something that you just clearly need to know. That's the way I see him as a writer and also as a fighter. But I would say SEAL fighter first and then writer, because this is just autobiography.
Yeah.
But if you're interested in checking out American Sniper, you can find a copy that looks like this. This makes mention to the fact that it's now a major motion picture. It has been a major motion picture for quite some time. I remember when it first came out. And it's also co-written with Jim DeFelice and Scott McEwen, and his wife, Taya, makes some contributions to at least the issue, the version that we have.
And I'm going to point out too, on the back, some of the, what is that called? Like these things where they talk about, it's an amazing book.
The back of the book, the summary.
Yeah, it's not so much the summary, just the
synopsis.
The people talking about how great it is.
Oh, the praise.
Yeah, the praise. I don't know why I couldn't think of that word. My next read actually is going to be Lone Survivor, because I did not realize that Marcus Luttrell and Chris Kyle were friends in the same kind of platoon. And I think that's very interesting that here you have these two badasses who survived and did things that, you know, human beings just don't do, and they did it. And so I think I've started a theme for my 2019 reading Navy SEALs.
Last year was the ocean.
Last year was the ocean and the boats and the expeditions. This year apparently is going to be Navy SEALs and war stories. So at least right now.
A loose connection.
Yeah.
Alrighty then.
SEALs, water goes together, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Be sure to join us next time for another episode of Tori Gladiators. For now, keep reading.